World Cup groups G, H, and I. My name is Corbin from the Parlay Club, and I've got the best bets and the plays the books do not want you knowing about. As always, drop a comment, like, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Let me know who you think is going to win, if you agree, disagree with anything I'm going to say, and all of that fun stuff. In this video, I'm obviously going to be breaking down groups G, H, and I. If you want a preview of the whole tournament, such as like futures like who I think is going to win, golden boot, all of that fun stuff, that's in the first video in this playlist and series. And then the rest of the groups before and after this will also be going up on YouTube in that same playlist. So yeah, check out the channel for that kind of stuff. And let's get right into it with Group G, which is Belgium and Egypt, Iran and New Zealand. There's really only one team you can start with here, and that's Belgium. I think Belgium are past their best for sure, but they're still being underrated in this tournament, particularly for this group. I think minus 220 is a really good price. I have it actually jotted down at minus 270, which I like. So I like this even more. Um, Really, for me, I think it's their front four that still creates enough problems to get through at least the groups. I don't think they're going to reach, say, the quarters or the semi-finals or do any real damage, but I think they've definitely got dangerous attacking players to make this group look easy to them. Obviously, the front four is probably going to be Doku on the left, who anyone that's watched City knows he's really improved this year. Huge amount of pace, and his finishing has improved no ends. De Bruyne through the central attacking midfield role, he's obviously aging, but I think he can still produce enough and have enough quality. I don't feel like his lack of pace is going to hurt them in these kind of group games, and he can still pass the ball as good as anyone. Trossard on the right, which isn't his natural position, but I think he's still good enough to fill that space. And then hopefully through the middle is, I'm going to butcher his name as well, De Catalaire. I think he can be a solid threat, and I really hope for Belgium's sake that he keeps Lukaku out of that team. I mentioned before I think it was Lukaku under 2.5 goals. I'd be surprised if he gets more than one goal. I really hope they don't start him. I think De Catala is a far better player, and even if Lukaku's coming back from an injury, he's barely played this year, and even at the best of times, he wasn't clinical enough to really help Belgium in recent tournaments. They have a really strong, solid midfield. It's probably going to be Tillmans and Onana who play together at Aston Villa, which I think really helps them kind of continuing that continuity in midfield for the national team. They have a younger defense, which I really like to see from Belgium, as opposed to just for so many tournaments and years, they were just keeping the old guard around just for almost the experience and that they didn't trust anyone else. They have to bring through the younger defense at some point, which gives them legs, and I think they are underrated. I think their defense, particularly with Courtois still in goal, I think they're going to surprise a few people. I think they win this group easily. I don't think they go an awful lot further. I think minus 220 on the Belgium to win a group is quite a good bet. In second place, it's probably Egypt. They're really relying on two players in my eyes. Salah, who has been awful this year. I think his legs and confidence, all of that stuff has gone. And Marmoush, who's obviously plays for my team City, he just lacks the game time and the real sharp finishing ability. But I think he has enough quality to do damage to these other two teams, not Belgium, but the other two teams. You can just tell Egypt's strategy is just going to be park the bus. Their defense has been okay at times when I've watched it, and they're just going to try and counterattack through Salah and Marmoush and try and hit these teams on the break, particularly with Marmoush, who has the real kind of pace in behind. In third place is Iran. Again, where do I start with them? Unconvincing. They've got off the field issues, obviously, with the war and the conflicts with the US going on. They talk about their staff not being allowed, them not being able to train in the US. They're just having all kinds of issues everywhere. They will literally play every player behind the ball, I think, particularly against the teams like Belgium. Again, maybe against the other two, particularly New Zealand, maybe they'll go for a 4-4-2 where they feel like they might be able to try and nick a goal or two. I don't see many goals from them. They didn't have odds on their under goals, but if it's anything under 2.5, 3.5. I think that's a great bet on Iran, basically to struggle. I don't think they get out the group, but that third place is always kind of touch and go, depending on if they beat New Zealand and if so, by how many goals. Which leads me on to New Zealand, who have just been absolutely awful. They just lost 4-0 to Haiti. They have no speed to get out the pitch. So, like all these teams that I mentioned, are going to sit every player behind the ball. I don't see how New Zealand get up the pitch. You can get some crazy odds on them. I think they've got 1 win in 10, and I have them as minus 250 to not qualify from this group. To me, they're clear four favourites. You can see by just the to qualify odds. It's between them and Iran, but again, they're gonna. I feel like to qualify from third, you're gonna have to at least win one game. So let's say they beat Iran. I feel like they're only gonna possibly beat them by a goal because I really think they're gonna struggle, and I don't think a 1 goal 1-0 win kind of thing is gonna see you through in even as a third place team. So that's Group G. I've gone for Belgium in first, Egypt in second, Iran in third, and New Zealand in fourth. I feel pretty confident about that. I forgot to get the exact odds, but it would not surprise me if it's in the kind of plus 180, 200 range. And that may well be a client play because, as I said, I really fancy Belgium in this group. I'll probably at least use them to win this group. Group H. I mean, everyone knows where I'm going with Group H. So we have Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. This group sets up amazingly for the Spanish. If you watch any of the previous videos, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of Spain. I think they're rightfully favourites for the whole World Cup, and I think they easily top this group. I'm shocked this minus 475 isn't. I'm going to be honest, like minus 800, I think they coast here, and this will definitely make it into a client play with something. I've mentioned it again throughout the videos. I like Orifable to be top goal scorer in the tournament each way. I like him to be Spain's top goal scorer. He's going to be the starting centre forward. He's been banging the goals in La Liga for Sociedad and for Spain in qualifying and friendlies. The only issue for Spain is Yamal and Nico Williams being injured. I read a report today that Yamal's going to be playing about 25 minutes the first game, maybe about a half the second game, and then full fitness for the third game, which we'll get onto why that's important. Nico Williams, I haven't heard on, but they picked him and expect him to play in the group stage, they said. I think they have an amazing midfield, so solid all round with the likes of Pedri and Rodri. If I could pick a midfield, I'd take Spain's probably all day. I mean, the way that Rodri, probably Fabian Ruiz, and Pedri are all going to complement each other, it's so well rounded. Another key thing that I like for Spain is the possession. We know the Spanish love to keep possession and have all the other teams running around. And then you remember the conditions for this tournament, how humid, hot, all of that stuff it's going to be. If they've got the other team running around like crazy, I feel like it's just going to help their fitness, but also tire out the opposition and just then leads to so many extra second half / late goals when the other team are on their knees, basically. They just have too much quality for this group. Love the minus 475. Will be a client play. Just want to quickly tag on. They play Cape Verde first and then Saudi Arabia second. I've mentioned it in previous videos again. I love when my team that I think is going to top is playing the two weakest teams, particularly the weakest team first. I think they they pump Cape Verde 3-4-0 probably very easily. They can rest some players. Again, beat Saudi Arabia pretty comfortably. And then they're well rested and they know what they need to do versus Uruguay. Even if they drew against Uruguay, who I think are the second favourites in this group, I think they'll have scored more goals against those previous two teams that I mentioned than Uruguay have. Which leads me on to Uruguay. Second favourites, I think, quite clearly for this group. What is them to qualify? Minus 1,000. Don't love it. Yeah, so second favourites, Marcelo Bielsa took over and had a really successful campaign but then seems to just tail off. He's lost the dressing room, and behind the scenes, it feels like their camp is in pure chaos, quite honestly. They're a really kind of steady team. They're going to try and press, which I think will really actually hurt them in this tournament. I mean, if they come out and try to press the Spanish, they'll just pop it around them and have a field day if, with the pace of Yamal or Afable and hopefully Nico Williams by that point. Um, as I mentioned, they're steady, but they really lack any kind of real top talent outside of Valverde, who is really a midfielder. He can't carry this team on his back. It's not like a goal scorer who can create something out of nothing, although he will try. I feel like they're relying too much on Nunes due to the aging and retirement of Suarez and Cavani. Nunes was poor at the best of times and has been poor in Saudi all this year. They've got an okay defense, and I think that's enough probably to help them pass Saudi Arabia and Cape Verde. But again, Spanish have too much for this team. Cape Verde, they again, you can doesn't take a rocket scientist, but they just don't have the quality. They lack the real competition friendlies kind of preparation for this. Hard to know what you're really going to get from them, to be honest. But I suspect the usual. They'll sit behind the ball and just hope to nick something on the counter attack. Similar theme with Saudi. I think they have more quality than Cape Verde, but still not enough to challenge, particularly Spain. Again, I think they're going to sit back and counter attack with pace like they did to beat Argentina at the World Cup. They've changed their manager since then, but I think they've definitely gone backwards, and I think they're a worse team than they were 4 years ago when they did beat Argentina at the World Cup. So to rank this, I've obviously got Spain first, I've got Uruguay second, Saudi in third, and Cape Verde in fourth, and that gets you plus 180. Again, I struggle to see much difference between that. I think Saudi are comfortably in third place, better than Cape Verde, but not as good as Uruguay. It's only if Uruguay really decimate, I think that bet could get ruined. Quickly want to mention what we've got up for clients. So if you don't know what client plays are and all of that stuff, these are the best bets that I recommend from hours and hours worth of research. I post them to my DubClub subscribers, and then you basically go and play the plays yourself. Um, I cover a multiple range of sports. You don't just get the World Cup futures, you get World Cup matches per each thing, you get tennis, we have Wimbledon coming up, mixing that any golf, any motorsport. It's been a great year, over 130 units worth of profit. You don't have to be a big better, as I've mentioned before. Even if you bet $10 per percent that I recommend, you'd be up over 1,300 quid, which feels like a pretty good return on your investment. Doing a promo code of World Cup, all one word, for $15 off a monthly subscription, which is this one in the middle. Do offer a money back. It's 80% due to the fees that get taken out from DubClub and payment methods. But if you want the yearly subscription, this basically means if I don't make you money, I will refund you 80% of your subscription fee, which I don't see a single other person in this industry offering a money back guarantee, basically. So yeah, let's get. Also, if you want to see what kind of plays we have or done previously, it takes a minute to load. But if you come to the link me, again in the comment description, that kind of fun stuff, you can find my socials, the spreadsheet that I'll show you in just a second, and the link to DubClub where you can buy the client pays and join me on my winning adventures. So this is the spreadsheet. It shows you every play that I've had this year, how much we've bet, how much we've won. So if you want to verify and check any of it, go right ahead. I try to be as transparent as possible. When you feel like you're the best, you have nothing to hide. Let's get right back into it with the last group for this video, which is Group I, which is France versus Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. We can start with the French. I have, well, they are the bookmakers' second favourites for the World Cup, and I think probably rightfully so. I think they have the best front three in the whole World Cup by some way, plus all the options from the bench. We're talking the likes of Mbappe, Elise, Doué, Cherki, Dembele. There's just so much talent up there. Plus, they have the fresh legs coming from the bench. I named so many players; they're not all going to start. So, bringing on a Doué or a Cherki with 20 minutes to go just feels almost like a cheat code. Um, their midfield is aging, but still can be solid. It depends on their legs. I think Tchouameni will be a huge player for them in the heart of that midfield. And then you have the likes of Kante still, Rabiot, who I think are aging, but I think if they manage their legs correctly, they should have enough for this tournament, particularly the early stage. The defense is the one area I find really shaky with probably Digne at left back. Hopefully for them, they go with Hernandez, who I think is far more solid. Then they have either Upamecano or Kanate next to Saliba, who will have to be on his toes because those two have been all over the place. They just look like Bambi on ice at certain points. So yeah, that left channel I think could be a real suspect area for the French. So they'll have to be where I'm sure their coach Didier Deschamps will know this also and try to cover that with probably Tchouameni or someone pushing more over to the left channel. I think a key issue for the French could be their egos and their selfishness if they struggle to gel quickly. We've seen Mbappe throw temper tantrums at the best of times. The other three, I think Elise, Cherki, Dewey, and Dembele could all link up. It's really kind of Mbappe if he kind of spoils the camp and the vibe between those guys. They were upset in a friendly versus Ivory Coast. I don't pay too much attention to that because they didn't play their full strength team for the second half and they did look good in the first half when I was watching them. I think it really comes down to them versus Norway, and I do have France coming out on top. Moving on to Norway, I'm really interested to see how they shape up and get on this tournament. Their main and almost only route to goal is through Haaland, but he needs the service. He's not a striker that's going to dribble through some players and create something for himself. The rest of that Norwegian team just doesn't have that much creativity. I'm I've seen Sorloth, who's another kind of big body centre forward like Haaland, play on the wing, and that really doesn't work. So I'm wondering if they go for more of a 4-4-2 or like a 3-5-2, try and get some width and crosses into the box for Sorloth and Haaland to play together. Haven't I don't think I've seen them play together, so I'm a little worried that Sorloth could almost get in Haaland's way and take up his space. They're kind of relying on Odegaard from midfield to create something, but I think he's really poor. I think he's overrated for Arsenal. I just don't rate him, but he's the only kind of creativity and kind of ball retention I think they're going to have in that midfield. So if you can get him just behind a Haaland or Sorloth, maybe he can play a few balls into them and try and create something. They've had real mixed results with one win in their last four, although they did draw two of those, and the one they lost was a narrow defeat to the Dutch. I think their defense and structure is okay, but I think they're going to struggle against France and just how much attacking players they have. I've mentioned it in a previous video, but Haaland to be Norway's top goal scorer, I think is another great bet. Again, I don't see where the goals come from if it is not him. Third favourites in this group, Senegal won AFCON, but the Confederation decided to strip them. So in my eyes, they basically won Africa Cup of Nations. I think they could surprise a few here. More in the overs than I think anything else. I think they do have a decent amount of pace, and I really like their front kind of three or four. Nicholas Jackson, Mane, and Dye are the key names to know, and that just screams pace. I definitely think they could hit the likes of Norway on the break, France maybe for a goal, but their defense is really shaky. I mean, it's shown when they're conceding 3 goals to the US recently. So I think it's another. I think Senegal game. I mentioned quite a few teams I like to go under in this tournament. I think Senegal game overs, particularly against France, could be a great idea because I think that could be high scoring. Think they're really battling Norway for qualification in that second or third place spot. And quickly mention, so the price for Senegal is minus 230 and Norway's minus 900. I think the minus 900 is too much. Again, I feel like you can get better odds if you like Senegal to advance. I feel like you can get better odds betting them versus Iraq because they'll probably lose that first game to France. Again, I don't know why this is minus 215. This should be minus 400 in my opinion. But I think they lose that game to France. I think you can then get on some better odds either for Senegal to qualify or for them to beat Iraq. I think they probably get third place. Speaking of Iraq, again, they lack the real quality, but they seem to do all right, to be honest. They held Spain to a 1-1 draw recently in a friendly, although Spain were not playing their full strength team. This was back in April a few months ago. I just don't. The problem with Iraq is I think they could. I think like quite a few of these teams, they'll put every player behind the ball, and I think they can do okay defensively. I don't see where the goals are coming for them. You can get Iraq to go under 2.5 goals at -250, and again, I think that's a great piece. I've mentioned so many of these lesser teams to score under 1.5, 2.5, maybe even 3.5 at kind of prices varying from like -180 to -250. Just put two of those together, and I think you have a solid play. And I'll definitely be utilizing them for clients and subscribers. I mean, it's pretty obvious what my order is going to be. I've got France in first place, I've got Norway in second, I've got Senegal in third, and I've got Iraq in fourth. You can get Senegal plus 200 not to qualify. It's kind of touch and go. I'd probably avoid that. It really comes down to their game against Norway and goal difference, I think, for them. And that wraps up this video on groups G, H, and I. If you want my client plays, as I mentioned, link for DubClub, all of that stuff, spreadsheet, all of that stuff in my bio, and probably in the comment section as well. Use code WORLDCUP for $15 off. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next video.